Hey guys, welcome back to another clip of Schach-manuel-lernen. Today we continue our puzzle challenge to 3000. So we were by 2422, we activate the Zen mode and then we start. So here, material-wise, we are a bit down and we have a bit less pawns than our opponent. What I see is this check is not really promising because we just lose our queen, but at least we realize that our queen is looking towards the king. And now what I thought, because of the level I have, is something like capturing, because after checks we check capture moves, and when we capture, he can't capture with the queen, because then we would just win the queen. And when we capture, he captures with the pawn. Of course, we shouldn't trade queens, because we are then even more material down. But we can capture with the rook. And after capturing with the rook, the queen has to go somewhere, right? So let's say if the queen goes here, which would be obvious, then we have suddenly a X-ray, so we can give a check and then we will win the queen. So that's why queen e3 is not working. So let's say this. So the queen has to go to another square. And it looks like it doesn't matter where the queen goes. It will always follow a check and winning the queen. So he can hide the queen on b1, that we can't attack the queen after moving our rook. But then we can play rook to d2 with a check. Then the king needs to go away. And then we can play queen f2 in order to attack the bishop and to deliver a checkmate either here or here. So that's why I would say this should be the solution. Capture. Okay, he goes now to e1, but now same story. We can go here and give a check. And that was the puzzle. So great start. Here now it's material-wise quite equal. We see the king has these pawns here, which always is a small indicator for back rank problems. So we will try to get use out of that. Of course, like we can just capture the pawn here. That would be one option. So at least we will, win a pawn. But now let's check for something better that we could play maybe. Like when we capture, I'm not sure, by recapture and then check, capture. I guess we don't have a lot because he has this pawn, we have this pawn, so that shouldn't be the solution. Other options is like when we try to take the rook away, like let's say this, and then when he captures we have a checkmate. But that would be hoping for a bad move from white's perspective, so that is not the best. So when we play this one, we have this threat here, but actually he can just stop it with queen b1. So I don't expect this is a solution that we should consider. However, when I now think about queen d2 in order to play rook e1, we also can play immediately like this move, because when we capture the pawn, we have the same threat, but the queen is closer to the king and it also supports the same square. So let's say when we capture here, g3 doesn't help a lot because we can just capture it or play rook to e2. So let's say capture, and if he plays queen b1 in order to defend the back rank, then we have bishop e1, and then we have a new threat of a checkmate. And I guess this, yeah, should it be? So this one, and then bishop e1 in order to block. Now queen d3, so he blocks the checkmate once more. But now we can play rook d2, I thought so. But then he gives a check, and then he will trade the queens. So it's not really what we want. But now we have wonderful rook d5. I should have calculated that from the beginning. Because if he captures, he goes back rank mated. And if he does another queen's move, let's say this one for protecting the rook, then we can deliver here a checkmate. So white needs to protect the rook and deliver the check and defend the checkmate, but the only square where he can do that is this one. So rook to d5, perfect. Then the last game for today, last puzzle for today. He gives a check, so if we capture with the queen, he can capture with the bishop, and then we gonna be delivered checkmate. So the first move, without much further calculations, we can play with king captures, because queen captures immediately loses. So capturing, and now here we should consider this one or this one, not automatically recapture. But recapturing doesn't look too bad. On recapture, of course, like rook there will follow. And the question is just if we will survive that. It looks like not. So the other option is that we capture the queen here. Which is an option, and then he will capture us. And then afterwards, material-wise, we won't have a lot of advantage. So we can give here a check, and then king is forced to go to e7. And when we capture the rook with check, he is forced to capture, and then we can capture with the queen. So the difference is when we capture the queen immediately, we don't win this rook. But when we give a check here first, we will win the rook, sacrificing the queen temporarily, but we will win it back immediately. And then we remain with a rook ahead. So this is the solution. Perfect. So we made 3 out of 3. It's always our goal to do that. And let's check how we increased our rating. So now we are back on 2500. So it was a good session. Calculation skills were supreme from us, and with this interesting puzzles, I wish you a wonderful weekend, stay healthy and enjoy your own chess game.